Hello, Eight of Cups family. Welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot and welcome to the weekly edit. It's an intense week this week, guys. We've got a lot going on from now. I said a while ago that mid-January things were going to get pretty intense. We've got a full moon making an opposition to Pluto. We have Mercury going into the official retrograde period. We still have Venus in retrograde. And we have aspects with Mercury to Uranus and Saturn. So there's so much here that I want to unpack for you. Let's start with this Mercury retrograde. This is really a special one. And it's no coincidence that both Venus and Mercury are kind of going over the same area of the chart, end of Capricorn degrees into Aquarius. So if you want to put this in perspective, Mercury is kind of revisiting some of these really tense placements that we experienced during 2020 and 2021. So in 2020, in January, when we didn't really know what COVID was yet, there was the big Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction. I talked to this ad nauseum, and that was kind of when the first case of COVID was discovered. Now, obviously, it didn't get exposed until like March and spring of that year, ironically enough, as Venus was going retrograde as well. But Venus and Mercury are both highlighting this spot. As well, Mercury is highlighting the spot of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that happened in the beginning of 2021. So some of the stuff that played out, like if you looked at this collectively or in mundane astrology, you'll find that we are definitely going to go through a period of assessment and reviewing what these things were. So no coincidence in the news. We're looking at, stuff coming out about the origins of COVID. And I think that we're going to see all of this from a different perspective now. There'll be more about like the election and the elections to come and highlighting what happened in January 6th, because we're literally have these two major personal planets going through this clump again. And when it goes retrograde, it's an opportunity for us to look at it, most likely because Pluto is involved there as well. More information will come to the surface, which is going to reframe the story. Now, it won't mean the same thing this time around. So it's a really profound time. And I want to advise everybody to just kind of bear witness to what you're finding out or what you're seeing or what's coming to light. Now, it doesn't have to be an external circumstance, right? Sometimes this is just stuff within us. But what I want to tell you about is kind of what Mercury actually does here. Now, he's been going through the sign of Capricorn. That was like a really productive time for us to get things done. And I've been telling everybody that although I know we're in the energy of the new year, right? Like we all set our New Year's resolutions. In astrology, timing wise, we're still rounding the corner. The new doesn't begin until Aries season. So I always say that Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces season is really all about ending and wrapping things up. And you're going to see that clearly. But we can't end these things until we see them. And it's really seeing things from a very healing perspective. That's the opportunity that we have going on right now, to see things from a different light, maybe with more facts, finding out more information. And we begin to empower ourselves to make better decisions or, what's better for us now that we know all of this information. I don't want anybody to go into this retrograde season afraid. Now, I will tell you, it's probably pretty frustrating. Anytime that you have a retrograde in an air sign, a lot of these air type of things, like computer systems, our phones, our cars, our vehicles, like all of this stuff does get more affected than any typical Mercury retrograde. So you're going to see your good old traditional car breakdowns, computer viruses, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to tell you that this one's going to have a little bit of a bang. Because what Mercury does is he's made it through the whole sign of Capricorn. And he gets almost to halfway through Aquarius, right? He gets to about 10, 11 degrees, and comes right next to Saturn. Now, if you can imagine Saturn kind of being a wall, an obstacle course, this is somebody who says no, this is somebody who says this is impossible, we can't do this. It's a stopping ground, right? So ironically, today, Mercury made its way to that point, and we got the Supreme Court ruling that, the vaccine mandate wasn't going to hold up. Now, I'm not expressing any opinions, just so you guys know, but I'm just kind of showing you how this could relate to stories in your own life. Something might be decided, there might be an obstacle or something that you can't quite get through. But the great thing about the retrograde is that Mercury stops right there at Saturn. He assesses the situation. All right, this is why we can't do this. This is why this can't happen. And then he takes a deep dive back into Pluto territory over the next couple weeks. So he's revisiting this degrees, meeting back up with Pluto. And this is all about relinquishing our fears. There's such a powerful release that happens. Now, we've had Mercury on top of Pluto a couple weeks ago. So whatever, these are not new storylines. All the stuff that we're working on, we're very well aware. There's an element, though, because where Mercury starts off with Saturn, he's almost in a dead square with Uranus. And Uranus is kind of more like this lightning, sudden occurrence kind of stuff. And as that's happening, Uranus is stationing direct. So we're going to feel him in the sky for the next 5 or 6 days really strongly as Mercury makes its square here and begins its retrograde process. So most likely in our lives, we're going to see or hear or have some sort of a breakthrough in some way. And we're going to be like, oh my God, that's why that's not working, or that's why this is impossible to do. And then we're going to move back to Pluto. And this is like where we have to start getting really honest with ourselves, right? If we have intense goals, if we have things that we really want to accomplish, this period is going to make us so determined to break through these blockages. And with Pluto there's a real potential, especially because you're being blessed with Venus in the same area of the chart. There's so much that's working out beneath the surface within us right now. I want to explain to everybody, because the intensity coincides with a full moon opposing Pluto, we're going to have to look at a certain area of our life where we're really grasping onto something. Where are we digging our claws in, holding in, like we're determined to make something happen, or it has to look this way, or the situation has to go this way. So what happens when we have a moon in Cancer, which represents deep emotions, oftentimes about our emotional and physical security, right? When we have Cancer transits, this is all about where we feel safe and secure, what feels like home to us, the people that feel like home to us. And a lot of times what we're going to see is this power dynamic between our comfort zones and the discomfort that we have to put ourselves through in order to revolutionize our lives. So 2020, 2021 has all been the process of gaining freedom, acknowledging that we need to change our lives in some way. A lot of this is about us growing out these old, outdated storylines, right? I often say we can get stuck in these karmic loops. Like we keep having the same relationship issues, or we keep getting hired at the same type of job, and the same outcomes happen over and over again. And this is kind of like, maybe we should try to do this differently. Maybe we have to completely radicalize how we go about doing things in our lives. There's a lot of consideration here. So for example, say you realize that you want to move to another state. Maybe you don't like the weather in your current state, and there's like this fantasy that you want to go live on a beach somewhere, right? Jupiter in Pisces is a constant reminder that these desires, like they're very possible right now. And when we have this kind of power, this is a good time for us to really assess those. Is this just like something I want, or is this like something I truly want to accomplish? You know, we could all say we want to move to Florida, but not many of us are actually going to do it. But For some of us, that's a real possibility right now. And if it's something that you're desiring, something that keeps coming back to you over and over again, then most likely the universe is going to start shoving you in this direction. And it's going to start telling you got to make some moves. And when you start to make the moves and you run into Saturn, then it's time to reassess and go back and go, well, maybe I need to look at this differently. Maybe I need to reassess the situation. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have the resources or the time or the things show up right away to make it happen. But we are able to kind of rewrite these storylines so that we can start to make this work for us. Some of the things that we're really going to have to look at when Pluto is involved is our fears. Most likely there's deep psychological fears or blockages that are stopping the change from happening. Some of us, it's financial, right? Like we've got to get our finances in order, you know. Say you want to start your own business. It's not like you could just up and do that. Like there's probably gaining like financial backing or saving your money so you can quit your full-time job, you know, like all of this financial stuff. But, you know, when it comes down to it, this Uranus, this Mercury retrograde, it's going to really make you want to do these things. It's going to shove you in this direction, and it's going to tell you, Capricorn energy, like this is your purpose. And when you're dealing with transits like this and you're going through situations where you feel like something is calling to you, whether it's a relationship, a career, changing where you live or the state that you live in, you know, like whatever major changes, if you have that desire, now is absolutely the time to plant the seed. You will make so much progress, even though a lot of 2022 is going to be moving backwards. It's backwards with a purpose. We're in autocorrect mode. We're going to change the way that we view things. We're going to change our self-limiting thoughts. We're confronting those fears. We're doing that shadow work. And this Cancer full moon opposing Pluto is really going to make us do this deep emotional dive. It's time to get super honest with ourselves. It's time to have really honest conversations with the people in our lives. You know, if you're going to start your own business, now's the time to start having those conversations, bringing people in, getting the advice, closing up the old chapters. A lot of this is about healing and releasing the things that have to go in order for you to make this move. So you're going to see a lot of things in flux right now. Definitely not going to feel grounded this week. You're going to be super emotional. You're probably going to feel really restless, anxiety, nerves, fears, like these all come into play. So what we want to do is tap into this Cancer energy. And we want to talk about how we self-care and self-mother ourselves through these changes. Now, for some of us, we want to make these changes, and yet we have this voice in our head that's like, oh my God, that's just silly. You could never do that. That's absolutely impossible. Maybe for some of us, we feel like it is reckless in some ways, because we are going to have to get a little selfish, right? In order to make these changes. A lot of that fear comes from not wanting to disappoint other people or let anybody down. This Cancer full moon is a reminder that you have to put yourself first, and especially when it comes to our emotions. This is about trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition, trusting these desires and that they're taking us someplace meaningful and purposeful. The urge is going to be to do some real healing here, some self-acceptance and self-love that comes into play. A lot of times we could do a lot of healing just by forming boundaries. Sometimes these boundaries have to be with other people. Like, we know that we want to accomplish these certain things, so we probably can't spend a lot of time with people that drain us of our energy and don't give back. And like I said, this is all about prioritizing your life in all these different arenas. Who are the people that you love, that nurture you and nurture your soul? And then there's going to be people that drain you and take advantage of you. And we got to form these boundaries, right? Same with the idea of work, family balance, work and home life. And Capricorn can also be maybe if you've spent too much time or been investing too much of your energy into, you know, the more mundane things in life. Like you're draining yourself, you're working so much, and you're starting to realize that you don't spend as much time with your family or your loved ones or your friends. This is like the universe going, come over here, like come take a look at this side of life. And some of these things can really shift our priorities, and it can change us at such a cellular level that everything else starts to change on the outside as well. So we've been going through this internal process for all of 2021. Remember, I kept saying freedom and change, freedom and change. This is what we're working towards. Most of us, things didn't really change, right? Like we've still been in the same storylines. We haven't actually made the changes. Some of us have, and some of us have made the changes and they're slow going, or they're not quite getting traction yet. And I'm going to tell you that now isn't like the best time to have high expectations of these ultimately big changes. What it is we're planting the seeds and we're manifesting now. And when we talk about manifesting, it's a really big deal this week as the nodes shift from Gemini and Sag to Scorpio and Taurus. Now this all goes really beautifully with the whole Venus retrograde thing, because we've got a lot of Pluto energy and we've got a lot of Venusian energy, again focusing on our empowerment, right? So for some of us, the empowerment is going to be our relationship to guilt. I know for a long time, this is just an example. Like for some of us, we tend to people please, right? Like we want to be able to be here and there and everywhere and take care of people and have those heart-to-heart conversations and bring that. But there's only so many hours in the day. And this moon is going to remind you that you have to make you and your health and your emotional being a priority. In turn, when we start forming those boundaries, that's like a perfect way to express self-love. Now, you're going to have situations that you draw boundaries from, but that is just a way of making space for the relationships and the nurturing things in your life that are good for you. So I don't want to put a lot of like negative thoughts. Like some of us are going to be looking at our lives and going, wow, look how far we've come since we made those little changes, since we implemented that new routine, since we started taking our health more seriously. And you're going to start to see progress, maybe not as much as you had planned or hoped for, but progress nonetheless. And you want to focus on like the changes that you need to make, how you need to empower yourself. The opposite of empowering is things that disempower you. So if you want to take a look at life and say, I always wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle, but I'm literally afraid of bikes. Well, that means we have to get over this fear, right? We have to get over the fear of doing something, or the fear of change, or the fear of that conversation in order to get to the next level. And the thing is, right now, like the things that we want, it's going to feel so worth it that we're so willing to do the work, to do the healing, to finally leave the relationship that doesn't work, because so much can happen in the next couple months. Like you could walk away from a job you hated and a week later find your dream job, Same with relationships. Like you finally get yourself out of a negative, toxic relationship or friendship. And because you've done that healing, because you've kind of given yourself that backbone and you've talked to the universe and you've said, no, but I don't want this in my life anymore. I want things that nurture me and take care of me. That stuff comes in so fast. As soon as March hits, guys, things are going to be full steam ahead. This year is going to move really fast. And we only have from March until about May to really hone in on that Jupiter and Pisces energy. So the worst thing that you could do is dash your dreams right now with a bunch of fears. We're going to have to confront those. We're going to have to understand where they come from and really overcome this energy. The South Node in Scorpio, a lot of things are going to come to the surface. A lot of things about our values and our priorities, about, deep psychological stuff. And we could be healing lifetimes worth of trauma so quickly. And because the North Node is in Taurus, our relationship with the material things are going to change our values are changing so rapidly. If we were, for instance, somebody that was very financially driven, work, ambition, you know, that kind of thing, we might really start to look at life now and understand the things that maybe we've been missing out on because we've invested everything here. It's just a reminder that we have to find this balance. And a North Node in Taurus is really an opportunity to love life, to love and be grateful for the things that you do have. Your families, your homes, the material objects, the things that you have amassed in your lifetime, the accomplishments that you've had. And there's so much gratitude that's wrapped up in this. So if we could focus on the good and overcome the fears, I think that we're in for a lot of growth with this, the next few transits. So I just want to tell you guys to hang in there this week. I know it's going to be intense. Do your best, take care of yourself. If you can, schedule yourself a little bit more of a quieter weekend or a quieter early next week. If any of you are having off for the holiday, maybe it would be a great day to just like spend under the covers in bed, Cancer energy, cook a meal for your family, spend time with the people that you really love and enjoy, and keep yourself in a good, healthy place, okay? If you find yourself overly emotional, just kind of go with it, because it's all a release point with Pluto. So if we're going to cry over things that maybe happened many, many years ago, or, things like that, I mean, there's such a healing process with that as well. So honor yourself and your emotional needs right now, first and foremost. You can expect your regular hiccups with Mercury retrograde, but I think it's going to happen more on an emotional level as well. Remember, we're getting an opportunity to reassess all of those thoughts and visions and conversations and opportunities that occurred in 2021. And we're allowed to kind of go back and set new and stronger foundations there. So it's a really opportune time. It's going to be a great week, guys. As always, I've pulled 3 different piles. I'm going to go through and read pile number 1, 2, and 3. You guys kind of pick whatever you feel drawn to. If you like a certain number, if you like the color of the stone, kind of go with that. And just know that most likely if you pick something, there's at least 1 or 2 messages that you needed to hear in there. All right, I love you guys so much. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. All right, pile number 1, you guys chose the rose quartz. I picked some really soft colors again this week, more so because of that Cancer moon. I myself have a Cancer moon, and I'm always kind of really attuned to that softness. So I wanted to kind of pick it into the reading this week and integrate something that's just a little bit more calmer. Now, I say calmer, and then I look at these cards, which is, I'm really excited to do this reading. There's really nothing calm about this reading because it is all about the movement. It's all about the change that you are implementing. And yet there's also a realization that there's not much you could actually do. So I think that for those of you that chose pile number 1, this might actually, and sometimes this happens in retrogrades. I've been telling people sometimes a Mercury retrograde or a Venus retrograde is sort of like a portal to gifts from your past. And I do feel a sense of like Dharma coming into this reading, like the universe kind of owes you in a way. Maybe there's been certain lessons you've accomplished, a certain amount of soul growth. And you're starting to reap the rewards clearly. Now we have in the very center of the reading, Jupiter return benefits, card number 49. I get a heavy emphasis on self-reliance here. And I think that you're in a state of learning through this very high level optimistic thought process. Okay, so I don't know if some of you listening to this have really been like working on manifestation skills, listening to Abraham Hicks, you know, like whatever it is that you're into. But actually doing the things. See, your energy this week is that of the Knight of Wands. And I love this particular one because he's like literally jumping through a hoop of fire, right? And I do think that this, in a lot of ways, represents your energy and your ability to jump through obstacles. Now, we talked about Mercury kind of heading right into Saturn, turning around and going back and reassessing. And for you this month, I feel like this is you kind of jumping straight through that Saturnian obstacle. There's very little that's going to be able to hold you back this week. And your environment is that of the world, which means the possibilities are somewhat endless. Like you are the epitome of limitless this week. And I don't think that this is like easy energy. I feel like for some of you, you've been, you know, working on this for a while. Again, Jupiter return benefits, like this is a reward for your hard work. And I do think that a lot of this has been about the balance between these two cards here. Now we have the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords, and that's very powerful energy. I think that these are the two things that you've been really mastering at this time. Now the Queen of Pentacles is all about the self-reliance, right? Now I just got done talking about that North Node going into Taurus. We have all been learning throughout this whole process of like, we have to know what's best for ourselves. And the thing about a Queen of Pentacles is that she doesn't ever second guess herself. There's never a doubt or like she never thinks that she's not capable of something. She is always in a state of mastery and abundance because she has an amazing self-worth. She knows what she brings to the table. She knows that the things that she does, the way that she contributes in some way, whether it's through her career or her relationships, she knows that she is of value. And when you know that you're of value and you're also able to step into the Queen of Swords energy, this is super powerful. Now, Queen of Pentacles is very sensual. She's very earthy, materialistic, not in a negative way, but she's all about creating like that material existence, making a house a home, creating more abundance. You know, she loves to cook or make a good meal, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a feminine energy, but the Queen is giving off that ability to kind of protect and be dependable and trustworthy. And then when we join the forces with that of the Queen of Swords, you know, she is very strategic. I don't pick up on a lot of emotions here particularly, and maybe that is something that you have been working on throughout this process of sort of balancing your stability and that your ability to kind of emotionally detach. I always say there's a certain level of benefit you'll always get when you look at something from a higher perspective. Oftentimes we're like in it, you know, like we get so deep in it, emotionally involved. We only see things like when your ego and your emotions are involved, your perception of things may not be 100% accurate, right? Like we get into the feels of something and we feel like something's, like for instance, being hurt, by somebody that we love. It can feel so much worse when we take it personally, right? When we try to blame ourselves in some way, like, well, I'm not good enough, or I didn't do this well enough, or we play that game, and that's really damaging. And I don't see that kind of energy coming into this reading at all. I feel like this part of you has been healed. There's a wisdom and a lightness when it comes to that. And when you can reach that level, then clearly you're mastering both your material world and your thought processes, which means you're kind of cleaning up the whole process of manifestation in yourself. Not to mention, like, can we talk about, I always say when the Queen of Pentacles comes up, there's an element of faith. See, she's holding something precious. In this picture here, literally the environment is holding the world, right? And I feel like there is even like, oh my gosh, look, she's holding this. We have this here. Like there's an idea of holding something precious. And I like that because it's also having faith that this seed, like if you imagine this precious gold coin to be like that single seed that you planted and you nurtured and you watered, and the very much works like that in the earth, where we just have to, it's a waiting process and things grow in the dark. It's a reminder that things always come from beneath the surface. So we learn to have resilience and faith that the seeds that we planted are growing. And because we have so much power here, and then I'm looking at this Six of Pentacles, and this is the actual mastery. This is you understanding your independence, your self-worth, your faith, what you bring to the table, along with your intelligence, your ability to strategically plan, to emotionally remove things, to know what's best for you, right? The Queen of Swords does not and will not ever put up with toxic relationships. And I love it because there's like such discernment here. You know what you want, and you know that the things in your life that are going to nurture that desire, the things that are going to support you, the things that will provide those opportunities, and you know how to cut out the things that don't. And there's a shift in priorities here because of your mastery. And I think it's clear to see throughout this whole reading that as you're mastering the skill in your mind and you're remaining faithful in the universe, there is no way that you could go wrong. If your thoughts are clean and positive and you have faith, then the world will give you the abundance that you require. See, when I look at the Six of Pentacles, we have an energy here of someone who has the ability to give to those that can't give back. Sixes are about divinity. And especially because this comes out right underneath this Jupiter return, right next to a wheel of fortune. The thing is, your fortune is turning, right? The opportunities are starting to come. You're starting to see like a materialization of the seeds that you've planted. Now, it might start off really small, like you just kind of make this, what Abraham Hicks calls it, the rocket of desire, right? Like you just, oh, I wish I could go to a concert or something. And then you realize that once you put this request out into the universe and you don't get emotionally attached to the outcome, and you just simply believe that the universe is always working for you, and it does and will deliver. Six of Pentacles. And the more and more opportunities, the more and more you see the concrete evidence that your power, your thoughts are working to your advantage, the quicker this wheel starts to turn, right? We go from the wheel of fortune to the world in your environment. See, the universe wants to give you whatever it is that you are desiring, whatever wishes, whatever seeds you planted. The universe has every intention to do so. And it is because the universe also believes in you. That's kind of a funny thought here, because I'm picking up on this, like the idea of equality. Like what you put in will always give back. And I think the idea that you have so much faith in the universe means the universe also has that much faith in you. It believes that you're special in some way, that there's a divine purpose for you. Well, it could just be making you happy so that you can make the people around you happy. And the more energy and the higher vibration that you have, the more opportunities and the better vibrations that you'll create for those around you. And that's why the universe is giving you these rewards right now. If you are somebody who's looking at life and counting your blessings, I would expect an uptick in that in the next few weeks. It feels like everything is multiplying in intensity, multiplying in happiness and in joy. Like, I can't say it enough. We've got the World card, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Sun card with the card of Jupiter. Like, there is some real definite luck and abundance headed into your life, whatever that means to you. And this is a really exciting time. But there is and will always be in these transits, right? And you have to remember, Jupiter is in Pisces. It can make all of your dreams come true, but it also means there's an element of surrender. And so the World card represents endings as well as new beginnings. There's no doubt the new beginnings are coming. The things that you really wanted are definitely on the way, at your doorstep even. But these things are going to require change. And the only thing I want to talk about here is this last card coming out, this Four of Pentacles, and underneath it we have the card Transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level, and deep healing. And I think this is the part of us that's ending. Like, we have to be so disciplined. Look, right here, Six of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune, and we have this card that says, hold your vision, fixed moon. Hold your vision on whatever it is that has transformed you so far, whatever is discipline, thought process. Maybe you're meditating every day. Maybe you're saying like these really wonderful affirmations. Maybe you're just eating healthier. Like, I have no idea what you're doing, but it is working. And there's no doubt this part of you, this Queen of Swords, has a vision, a plan for what she wants her future to look like, how she wants to spend her time, with who she wants to spend her time with. And it has to be valuable resources to her. See, none of this reading is anybody who's even remotely wasting time on toxic relationships and narcissistic exes and all of that nonsense. Like, this is somebody who is completely 100% mastered the art of the manifestation. Now, retrograde Mercury, retrograde Venus, right? Full moon in Cancer. It's not going to be without its hiccups, because the universe still has things it's always going to point out to you that you need work on. And there's going to be reminders probably this week that as the universe starts to deliver, right, starts to materialize some of these desires, we're going to have to let go of some of the older things in our lives, right? We're making room. When I see this Four of Pentacles with this transformation, there's like one more tweak that you have to make, one more level of mastery that you have to go, and that is in the ultimate surrender. Because Jupiter is in Pisces, that is going to be required of you. Now, most likely, as you start to gain like really wonderful abundance and happiness and joy and love or whatever it is, it means that there's a part of you, the part of you that, you know, this is all a new experience, and the part of you that's never experienced it before is something that we have to start to let go of. Because when we enter into this phase, we can get a little thrown off. We could start to doubt things. We could start to lose our way. And we could start to slip back into that emotional habit, you know. And maybe in a way, sometimes when I see Jupiter and I think, okay, the universe is testing you. So here's what I love, is that underneath this Wheel of Fortune and this Sun card, we have this card here, it says contentment. You can learn to rest in what you already have and already are. Suddenly you remember, I'm right here resting in God. Okay, there's so much that's coming from this for me right now. There's such a big energy, because I think the part of the mastery is that it's okay to want change. It's okay to desire the new things and to want more. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting financial abundance, with wanting that love of your life. Like, you're not ever asking for too much. But I think it's also important to appreciate what we have. Like, we don't ever want to come at the manifestation from a place of lack. Which means, instead of telling the universe, well, I just want all this money so I can be free with my time, free with where I go, what I do, you know, ultimately it's the seeking of the freedom. What we don't want to do is hone in on the things that we don't have. So we can't manifest by saying, oh, I wish I could pay all those bills. Really, what you wish is that those bills never even existed in the first place. And we have to allow ourselves to kind of really tap into that energy, because, again, we don't want to create any of that negative energy that can come with that. Recognizing, like, say ultimately you want to buy a new house. Well, it's not going to put you in this high vibration to walk around your current home and talk about how much you hate everything. So the universe is going to think that you want to stay in that vibration of hate or discontent. Okay? And it's the same thing like when the universe starts to deliver you wins, you know, whether it's like a giant windfall or like, you know, sometimes the Wheel of Fortune is, like I said, it kind of breadcrumbs you, right? It's just like one little thing after the next, and it kind of snowballs into this bigger thing, day by day, process by process, you know. It's building over time and it's gaining momentum. And I think whatever it is that you're focusing on, or whatever seed you're planting, is going to show steady momentum as long as you can stay in this positive realm. But the second that you start trying to hold on, the second you start thinking, okay, well, the universe just, you know, it didn't give me a windfall to like buy a mansion and never have to work again. But it was enough to like pay everything off this month and maybe like a little extra something special, right? Or maybe you had enough to like buy a vacation. And then you fall into that old habit of like hoarding, or like not wanting to spend it, or feeling like, okay, I'm right back to broke again, you know? You don't want to focus on that energy. You want to be abundant because the universe is giving this to you quite literally so that you can share your experience with others. So I think it's really important that as the universe is kind of giving you these wins, you're looking at things from a perspective of, how do I get other people to win? It doesn't mean that you have to go out and like give everybody everything that you win. Maybe it's just a conversation. Maybe you're just meant to share how you've manifested these recent things in your life. Whatever it is, maybe you're just meant to like make other people happy. Like I said, that's like a beautiful thing. And if you start to slip into a place where you don't want to share, or you don't want to inspire other people, then you can expect the universe to kind of take back. Now, oddly enough, we've got Jupiter return, which breaks down to a 4, And then we have this 44 here, the card strength. And I love how she's kind of like reaching out, holding this entire world. We've got the tree here, which is signifying growth to me. And this is all about the ability to hold your vision, right? Hold your vision, fixed moon, Taurus energy here. This is all about standing in your self-worth. This is all about that discernment that comes along when you reach this wise place, when you realize that when you are seriously in a state of manifestation and you allow other people to take you for granted, or you allow other people to kind of throw your vibration off, then you start to lose everything. You start to lose control. And we are here in this place of knowing our worth, knowing the things that we want, having faith in the universe. It's okay if these things don't show up right now, because I know and I'm going to live as if they already happened. We've got crow spirit, co-create with spirit. See, this to me also represents an element of timing. It's timing because it's time for you to start believing that all of this is real. I want you to all take a minute this week, okay? And take a look at your environment, wherever you're at. You're in your home, you're at work doing the thing that you love. Maybe you're in like this creative environment. Maybe you're just with somebody special that you adore. Take a minute to hone in on how generous, how grateful you are, and how generous the universe has been towards you. This is a moment of seeing how far you've come, how much you've changed, this transformation in you from somebody that maybe often came from a place of lack, didn't believe that the universe created everything for you. You know, sometimes we go through things early on in life and it just feels like we're just kind of here to take the punches. Right? There's no denying that there's periods of everybody's life where things are hard. But if you're somebody that can overcome that, if you're somebody who can take the punches repeatedly and still have faith in the universe, there is not a doubt in my mind that there are blessings headed your way. Like you are an angel for your ability to overcome and still believe. And I think if you look at this week and this energy coming up as an opportunity to really start to shape your future from that place of wisdom, and then you know that you are capable of overcoming it, and therefore you know your value and you know what you can give to others. And there's just such a beautiful karmic circle of reward here for everything that you've done and everything you've been through. And I have a feeling that this change is going to continue to occur for you all through 2022. I think some of you listening to this particular reading are really going to, like, life will be almost unrecognizable. Okay? I really do feel there's a lot of power behind all of this change here. All for the better. Beautiful reading. Just really inspiring, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I love you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, pile number 2. You guys chose the Moonstone. So I'm looking at this reading and I'm getting very much the whole vibe of the Pluto in Capricorn kind of opposing this full moon in Cancer. And it's really like this whole Capricorn Cancer axis, which we all have within ourselves. Capricorn being kind of like this outward, representing our reputation or the face we wear out in the world, which often means like the things we want to be known for or remembered for, right? Like what we do for our profession or the type of person we are. And Cancer is very much about like who we are behind closed doors. It's like a much more softer, private side of our lives and of ourselves. And oftentimes you'll see in Capricorn energy, like Capricorns can be really intensely private. And oftentimes there's an element of coldness that comes along with that because of that Saturn energy. Now you have this Queen of Cups, which is the energy that you're in. You're sort of in your feels, which makes complete sense if you are a Cancer or a Capricorn especially. The Saturn energy, like I described it as being cold. And then down here we have this card that says Dragon's Lair, card number 19. And you could see that this is literally like a frozen tower, very isolated, which oftentimes is kind of that Saturn energy. And a lot of times I look at the Hermit and I see that Saturn energy too. Saturn return, age. There's a level of mastery in this reading as well as there was the first one. So I do pick up a feeling like this full moon, and I said there's an opportunity to kind of look at how far you've come. And I think all of this Saturn energy is a reminder to look at how much wisdom you've gained, how far you've come in a certain area of your life, whether it's mastering your emotions or, the Queen of Cups, the universe is asking you to be in a softer place, probably a place that's a little bit more vulnerable as well. And I don't see a lot of vulnerability from the Dragon's Lair. And see, I'm looking at this King of Swords, and I'm not sure, like for some of you, maybe this is your energy. Or maybe you're dealing with another air sign in your life, this person coming off as somewhat cold. See, with the Dragon's Lair, there's an element of fear or intimidation. And I'm wondering if some of you aren't either dealing with somebody who has that kind of energy, or you yourself would typically hold that energy. Now, this is very Plutonian energy as well when I put these two together. Because there's a feeling of complete empowerment, right? Like, if this is your energy, then it's probably safe to say you are somewhat intimidating towards people. Maybe you're just somebody who, or this person, I'm not sure, but there's somebody that is very disciplined, maybe harsh in some ways, like not really sugarcoat things in a way. But I think that honesty does you a lot of good. See, because we have this win-win outcome as forecast, full moon in Libra, and that's right underneath this Page of Wands, which is kind of like the minor arcana of the Fool. And I'm wondering if for some of you, you're dealing with two different energies. Now, that doesn't have to be like a third party kind of, like, I'm not really picking up that kind of vibe. But I just feel like these two energies are kind of like outside energies to you. And this person, especially this air sign, Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius, there's an element of emotional detachment. I'm wondering if this isn't something that you're just kind of trying to figure out. Maybe you're dealing with someone else in your life who's a little cold, keeps you at arm's length, has like this higher perspective, whereas you're a little bit more on the emotional side. And I think the Page of Wands oftentimes represents like the conversation. And I think he's a really good, like, third-party mediator of some kind. Now, it could actually be like a mediator between you and somebody else. It could be like somebody you talk to about somebody else. There's a level of immaturity here and a level of like uber mastery here. And I'm wondering if there's not a need for like a balance between those two. Now, your environment is that of the Wheel of Fortune. So it's safe to say the universe is trying to get you to move or to change in some way. The thing that I get about this Page of Wands, I'm kind of picking up more of a negative vibe. And I'm wondering if somebody isn't going to say or do some things in the next week or so that are kind of somewhat change the way that you feel about them. Maybe change the way that you see them or the role that they played in your life in some way. If this is like a job or something, and maybe there's some bad news or cutbacks or something, because this page is right next to the Hermit energy, and we've got kind of this emphasis of wisdom here, always the bear representing like guttural instincts and wisdom as well, like from an earth place. Like the bear knows when to rest, he knows when to move, when to act. He doesn't have to like put forth a whole lot of energy, but when he does, it means something. We have underneath the Saturn return card, we have the Hermit card, the Knight of Wands, and the Brown Bear Spirit. Take time out. See, there's like a huge dichotomy in these two cards as well, because we've got like this colder Saturn energy here, and we've got the colder Saturnian energy with the Hermit, which oftentimes represents time in and of itself, right? Things that take time, they're slow moving. And then we have these two more action-oriented cards, and we've got win-win, and we have this take time out, which I'm attributing more to the Saturn energy, and then this service. And I'm actually getting this feeling now that this has a lot to do with the Mars moving into Capricorn in the next 2 weeks. I know this reading's a little bit all over this place. It's a little bit weird. But the thing is, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, right? And you wouldn't think that, because Mars is like this fiery god of action and desire, right? Capricorn is like slow and steady, the mountain goat, the very strategic step-by-step plans and pursuing their dreams and climbing the mountain kind of energy. So you take something fiery and you add like a solid foundation to it, and that's when the environment starts to change, right? That's when we start to accomplish and master and learn all of the things. I'm just wondering if we aren't striking a balance here with this moon. I think at the very least, things are going to become more clear to you. Now, whether there's some kind of news or something that comes in that makes you go into like this hermit mode, I don't know, like maybe you get put in COVID isolation or something. Maybe you had plans to go out for a week or something, and all of a sudden those plans got canceled and you found yourself sitting at home alone. Well, you can consider this a gift from the universe. Is it great? Are you happy about it? Probably not. But there's something about whatever occurs here that's ultimately meant to soften you. I don't know how that's going to play out. I think it's going to be different for everybody. Not really seeing like a clear scenario because it is such a general reading. But just pay attention to things that are happening in your life right now, and if you are in some way being held back, and I talked about Mercury kind of coming up to Saturn, like that obstacle, that solid no. And now Mercury's got to go back and kind of rewrite a story, figure things out. Okay, well, that thing isn't going to work out. So now what? And whatever is being derailed for you here is ultimately for your greater good over here. So the environment is that of the Wheel of Fortune. Your environment, your situation is changing. I'm not sure you're aware of that. But this isolation is actually creating a big opportunity for you. And you know what they always say, like, this is a message that I'm getting here. The Wheel of Fortune, we've got the Knight of Wands and the Two of Cups. And I'm just kind of getting this message of like, when you stop chasing it, it chases you. The trick this week is to stop chasing it. You might feel like there's so much that you have to do, that you need to do, like all these burdens and responsibilities, things that you have to take care of. There could be a feeling of heaviness, right? When we're talking about Saturnian things. But there's also an element of surrender. And there's magic in that surrender as well. And what I see here is that as soon as you stop trying to force that thing you want so bad to happen, like if you're trying to force a relationship to work of some sort, like the second you decide that you just can't do it anymore, this has to end, then like the relationship you always wanted just kind of shows up in your life out of nowhere. And I think it's important to understand that we can't force, we can't hold on to things. We have to face the truth. And in our humanness, with our ego, with our emotions, we tend to get sad, right? Because we get attached to things and people and the way that everything always is and always will be. But eventually, some of those things will no longer honor you. They'll no longer fit your life. Like you will outgrow certain scenarios. But there's something about that loyalty where we just try to stick it out, stay around, because Saturn is kind of the opposite of the Uranus energy, which is telling us to change. Maybe the answer this week for you is just to sit, just to contemplate, just to acknowledge the feelings, start to look at the lessons that you learned and why. I think it's important to look at the boundaries in your life. I think it's important for you to create some boundaries in your life. If it means that you have to take a time out and rest, then to me, the rest really resets everything for you. Because these two last cards, the Two of Cups and the Empress, means that once you get out of the vibe of trying to force it, then you instantly you find yourself in the receiving mode, right? Like the Empress attracts what she wants, what she desires. She is living proof that if you are always striving to be the person you want to be, you're always going to attract good people and good situations to you. And this is a level of attraction. This is also indicating to me that there is a rebalancing here. That's crucial. Now underneath this Two of Cups, we have this card. It says service. You stop using the universe to try to get what you want and start asking love to use you. You offer all and want to be of service. Ironically, many desires become fulfilled without grasping or manipulation. See, that's the thing about Pluto opposing the moon. Because Pluto is going to say, I know how bad you want this, but this isn't the thing. You're going to have to surrender and not force anything. For the simple fact, like that inner wisdom, that higher voice in you that's telling you that if that was the right situation for you, if that was the right person, if it was the right job, you wouldn't lose it. And it wouldn't be hard, and you wouldn't have to hold on for dear life, and you wouldn't have to be afraid or untrusting all the time. It would just flow to you. And that's what happens when you raise your vibration. And you realize that the things that you desire you too. And the longer we spend trying to fight to make people and things what we hope they would be, the less time we give to the universe to bring the things we want into our lives. And underneath this Empress card, we have Mintaken, longing for home, belonging, the original light workers. See, what you're asking for, the desire that you have, I think it's a desire for real, honest, true love. It doesn't have to be romantic love. This could just be, sometimes, like, not everybody's born in a great family, right? Like, some of us struggle in that area in our life. But we get older and we move on and we find really incredible people. We find these really incredible friends who ultimately become our family. And that's what we're meant for. And I feel like this Empress card here indicates to me that you're really longing for like that soul tribe. That feeling of fitting in, being nurtured and cared for. See, you're coming from a very cold environment here. In the past, these are cold, kind of superficial relationships maybe. Things that you thought were good for you at the time, or people that were meant to raise you to a higher form of society, or like whatever. But they were cold. It was never really the love that you absolutely desired. We have to be brave enough to walk away from those situations in order to make room for the things that we really truly have always wanted. And there's something about this Two of Cups, the Empress, and this longing for home and belonging. There's such a feeling of things kind of coming from past lives. I think for some of you in the near future, or maybe now and you're growing it, but I think you're stepping into connections that are meant to be a part of your life and have been and will feel like home. And I think that's a good way to recognize like the things and the people that are valuable to you. Do they make you feel like home? Do they feel like home to you? Can you be yourself? Can you be honest? Can you be vulnerable with these people? And if the answer is yes, and it resonates with you, there's never any stress. There's never any forcing or manipulating. There's just simply love. And it just happens so easily. There's no fear. We don't have to stay stuck in the past. We don't have to stay in these old stories of these relationships that were kind of cold. And I think that's a message that you are, in fact, ending one cycle, one karmic cycle, and stepping into the next. And I think it's a beautiful journey. And I think the universe is really wanting this for you. And I think it's clear that you're starting to enter a path of least resistance and destiny here. A beautiful reading. All right, pile number 2, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, pile number 3, you guys chose the blue Sodalite. And your energy this week is coming out as this beautiful Knight of Cups. As I kind of hone in on this energy of this particular Knight of Cups, which I love, I'm drawn to the song. I don't know if you guys could see this clearly. She's sitting on a lotus flower on water, which kind of represents the emotions, playing a harp with strings. And I think it's important to understand that you are on a very high level vibrationally right now. And I think you're connecting to another person, connecting to a higher source, a higher purpose. And I really love how she sort of embodies all of the emotions and creates something with it. Like if you think about people that create music, like think about your favorite song, you know, there's like all these, maybe it's a song with beautiful lyrics and beautiful sound and rhythm, and you create all of these things, but really the bottom line is the emotion within it. And so for me, I feel as though you are creating an environment, creating a situation of some sort solely through your emotional body. And when you do that and you resonate highly to it, then there is divinity and higher purpose in that. And it's important for you to understand that, because I feel like this moon making this opposition to Pluto might throw you a little off your game at this time. See, we have this 3 of Pentacles and then this 5 of Pentacles. And directly under the 3 of Pentacles, we have this card that says Compass. And what this card means is that all is not lost as long as you're following that vibration, you're following that emotion. And the 3 of Cups to me always represents the building of a foundation. So maybe you're working with other people, maybe there's collaboration, there's a sense of community going on right now. If this is just one other person representing a, like if this is a relationship, in essence, the 3 of Pentacles is the building, the laying of the foundation. So if you're starting a relationship, this is when you guys start to lay down boundaries, and these are my emotional needs and these are your emotional needs, and this is how we work together. And I see this Five of Pentacles next to it, and I feel as though there might be some nuances, some imbalances that come in during this moon. Now, what I want to say is that this is minor and most likely will pass. But I also want you to know that it has a deeper meaning. It has a higher purpose to this Five of Pentacles energy. Now, the Five of Pentacles energy is a state of feeling rejected, right? Like these two people have been ejected from a community or a church, kind of left out on their own. And maybe there's an element of you that has experienced that feeling in the past, most likely, like when something you really wanted didn't work out. And you might have a slight reminder of that this week. There might be some fears or some emotions that kind of sweep in and say, yeah, but like, what if we lost everything? Clearly, from the looks of this reading, you're not losing anything. But there's a significant meaning behind confronting this fear. And that's what that Pluto is going to do. It's going to force you to confront that fear and realize that even if this thing that you were building didn't work out, that everything would still be okay. And I love that we have a time to give rather than take, new moon in Virgo. See, this is also an element of your ability to give, your ability to sense other people's needs and to meet them as much as you could. Now, nobody should ever be a doormat for anybody else. That's certainly not the case. But you are particularly good. When I see this card come up, you are particularly good at sensing what someone else or other people need and providing that for them. And there might be a lesson here, solar eclipse, and if you look, there's an eclipse here and an eclipse here, all representing a new beginning. And so for me, this is kind of just the cobwebs. They're getting cleared out. So you might stumble upon like a certain level of fear or paranoia or, oh my God, like what if this doesn't work, or something just, there might be an emotional hiccup in something that seems to be moving smoothly into a next level, which is something that you've been manifesting. And if you have the ability to remain in a place of compassion, like as I was folding out this cards, I kept feeling and seeing this word compassion. And I thought it was ironic when the compass came up, because compass being part of the word compassion. I think you're going to be drawn to maybe offering someone or something a level of forgiveness. And maybe that forgiveness ultimately is sort of meant for you. Maybe there's something you have to forgive yourself for. Maybe there's something or something you've done in the past, or that you feel like there needs to be a certain level of forgiveness and compassion. But also with this compass card, and here we have White Raven, Spirit, trust the magic. There's an essence of even the mistakes, right? Even the disasters, even the bad relationships, or the selfish friendships, or the unequal relationships, the hard times and the struggles, like they all got you here. They all got you to this place. And there's an immense feeling of gratitude for where you are and what you've been through. I don't see a whole lot of like disrespect for yourself or your journey, because I feel like you've reached a whole new level of understanding that all of that stuff had to happen so that you could be who you are today and take advantage of the journey that is currently in front of you. Now, when I tell you that this Uranus activity this week Uranus stationing to go direct, making a square to Mercury, it will feel like the ultimate breakthrough. See, what the universe is doing is pushing us out of our comfort zone, pushing us to see things in a different perspective. And where we can do this, where we could, and I'm not seeing it so much in your cards, but it's been in every pile so far. Although you being in the Knight of Cups, resonating with that strong, emotional, beautiful messaging, that beautiful feeling that you have within you, it can go both ways. And if you find yourself kind of delving down into more of the negative emotional aspects of self, a reminder that that too is what you will manifest. So it's really important to keep your head above water here. If you start to feel yourself going into levels of paranoia or fear or worry, feelings of doubt, or, like you could feel like you've met the love of your life and then suddenly this week everything feels like it's going to fall apart. This is a reminder to just take a deep breath, take a pause. This 5 of Pentacles is kind of almost like the equivalent of a Chiron transit. It's going to show you your weakness so that you can auto-correct. And the quicker that you can auto-correct into trusting the universe and knowing that everything is happening for you, not to you, right? Like the more you could stay out of that victim mentality, the easier this is going to manifest into something very positive. The universe can work in some pretty weird ways, right? Like sometimes disasters lead us directly to the road we need to be on. And I love that we have this, a time to give rather than take, new moon in Virgo. Meaning, if you, instead of spending a whole lot of time and energy on the things that aren't working out, if you focus on offering your service and your compassion to others, like in a way that you spend your time, this could be a really magical time for you, because you're going to see how much you are capable of overcoming these old storylines that you've probably lived once, twice, or 1,000 times, right? And to say that this 5 of Pentacles right here with this Virgo energy, and we have to realize that Virgo is kind of in opposition to the Jupiter and the Neptune. So a reminder that we could reach levels this week of like convincing ourselves that this thing that we truly wanted isn't going to work after all, or this isn't the right person. And in a way, the universe is just kind of testing your patience and testing you. And I hate to say it, like the universe doesn't test you, right? But there are lessons. And because you've come so far on this journey, and because you realize that you can kind of transmute all of this and make it useful, then there lies your gift. Sometimes the universe creates certain stories and scenarios simply because you have the ability to transmute the pain and turn it into a lesson that most likely is shared with others in some way. So here in the current energy, we have this solar eclipse, 44, breaking down to an 8, and we have the 9 of Cups and the Star card. This energy, if I could bottle it, I would. This is beautiful, because this is the realization that in spite of what the universe hands you all day, every day, in spite of the circumstances outside, in spite of how other people may be going through periods of suffering, you have the ability to hold on to this vision. This was in all of the readings as well. Remember that we have to stay true to this Knight of Cups energy. Remember that you're creating something here. You're writing your song. It could be a tragic, horrible, sad love song, or it could be a beautiful, joyful song. And you have the choice. You have the choice of what you want to experience next. That solar eclipse, that revolution, is a knowing that you're creating your existence right now. You're creating these stories. Life is just simply performing the play that you've written. And when I see a 9 of Cups and the star, in every way, shape, or form, I need you to understand that your desires are being answered. And that the things that you truly want, whether it's a person, a relationship, whatever this is, whatever your heart is desiring right now, even if it doesn't look like it's showing up, it actually is. Because when we have a 9 of Cups next to the star card, it is a definite indication that your dreams are coming true, that your wishes are being fulfilled, your prayers are being answered. And it's also a guarantee that these things are part of your bigger destiny. And underneath these 2 cards, and I just want to point out for a minute how different these are, okay? There's a story between these 2 cards that's very profound. This man has a wish, and he has all of this material or emotional abundance, and he protects it. And look how he's protecting himself. Arms crossed across his chest. Yes, there's a level of ego here. I always say there's a decent amount of ego in the 9 of Cups, because when we make a wish, we know we truly have to believe in it. We have to believe that it's possible in order for it to ever create some sort of substance to materialize. But as we start to get there, as we start to get this wish, see this 3 of Pentacles, the building of the foundation, the thing actually starts to happen. Then most likely we are asked to become a little bit more vulnerable. And we see the vulnerability here, right? Like, this is very raw, beautiful, emotional energy. This is very raw, beautiful, emotional energy. This has a healing element. So whatever you're experiencing in this 5 of Pentacles, if you feel hurt, left behind, abandoned in any way, or if there's anything that's triggering like these old abandonment wounds within you, this is meant for you to transmute. Like, if you see the way that she's just this beautiful, barren being, right? Completely vulnerable out in nature, completely surrendered to the universe, surrendered to the stars, surrendered to her element of destiny. And she is actually pouring this water out. This may be a time of release for you. An emotional release from these old storylines. Because you're on a road, right? Your environment is that of the Chariot. There's forward movement. And because it's Cancer energy, it's emotional. It's what emotionally resonates with you. Like, you are this beautiful being, and you are attracting that same level of vibration from other people. It is a reminder that you are safe, right? You are in this new beginning phase. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes when we have all of our dreams and our wishes in front of us, that too can be just as frightening as the really hard times. Because when we have what we want, it means we are vulnerable. The universe loves when we're vulnerable. The universe loves when we operate from this place of truth and authenticity. There is a wish for you to be fully seen and accepted for who you are. And that's part of this revolution card, the solar eclipse. See, we can no longer take this emotion, this desire, and resonate at a superficial level. That's not what we're looking for. And those are the things that aren't going to resonate with us. we're moving into a whole new essence. This is a brand new journey in our life, and it's meant to bring you healing. And when I see this, you know, the water bearer pouring out the water, pouring out the emotions, it's like pouring out those old stories where you were a victim, of when you were rejected. But the thing is, we become in a true state of connection, in a true state of our higher source, we become grateful for all of those Five of Pentacle moments too. You know, simply stated, like, if you know, they say, like, if you meet the love of your life, then you begin to understand why all the other things didn't work out. And that's where we're at right now. We're in a state of realizing that all of those disappointments had to happen because it got you here. And here you heal all of that, and you create this new hope from a more authentic place, and it all resonates with you so deeply. The universe just delivers. White Raven Spirit, trust the magic. Now is not the time to go into self-defense modes. This is a time of real self-acceptance. And if we are talking about a relationship with another person, then most likely there has to be a level of real self-acceptance for them as well. Meaning we're removing the conditions at this point. Now I know I talk a lot about boundaries, and boundaries are really important, right? Like, what you cannot accept in your life is okay. Those boundaries are okay. They're very healthy to protect us, to protect our time, to protect our energy. But at the same time, and I've said it a few times now, everybody says that they want to experience a level of unconditional love, and then we put a whole lot of conditions on it, right? I feel like you are entering this phase, which is really very rare. And this is really only, like, this really doesn't capture that Jupiter in Pisces, of that actual ability to unconditionally love. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to forgive our exes and we're going to try to, you know, start new relationships that are dead. This isn't about putting up with people's toxic behavior. That's not what this is about. And if we're doing that, then we're going to stay in this Five of Pentacles forever, because when we accept behavior that really isn't acceptable, it lowers our vibration. It lowers our self-worth, and therefore we attract where we are at that level, which is something that is far below our means. But when we find something that vibrates on our level, and we are given the opportunity to love that person for everything that they are, the flaws, the difficulties, when we can find compassion and forgiveness and love, and it's not so conditional. It's not about, like, what do you do for me? What can you give me? Guys, I've said it a million times in my readings. My absolute favorite poem in the world is, after all these years, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Imagine what could happen with a love like that. It lights up a whole sky. And because this is right next to a time to give rather than take, it's not really about what this other person or this other situation is doing for you. It's about your ability to accept them, their humanness, the way that they are, to allow them to be seen, and then in turn, they will do that for you as well. And I love that we have the Chariot here, and right underneath that we have the Lover's card. The Lover's card does represent a choice. And I am seeing a choice here. You have the choice to protect yourself. You have a choice to stay at a level where you could be You could choose to see the situation as a loss. You could choose to look at this and say, oh, I'm just walking away because I've seen this story before. I don't want to get my heart broken. And again, it's a choice. You have a choice. But I don't see this thing happening being really a make it, break it kind of situation. And if you can transmute it, if you can use compassion and understanding, and if you can understand that maybe this unfortunate event is actually a catalyst to get you to the next gear, to get this chariot moving. And if you can accept that sometimes the universe works in this way, then you could probably recognize the gifts. And I always see the Lover's card as the choice of where you want to resonate. And if you've ever realized, it's very similar to the Devil card. There's this higher being kind of where you are operating from, and you have the choice. Either you can operate from sort of like the Garden of Eden or from the depths of hell. You have that choice. You have the choice to remain in a state of happiness and abundance and gratitude, or you can choose to stay in a Five of Pentacles. But you are certainly not meant to stay here. The universe doesn't want to see you here. You don't want to see you here. And there's no intention of you staying here. So all of this is a choice. It's a choice of what you want to experience next. And hopefully, for most of you, this song, this thing that you're creating, it's going to lead you right to that Garden of Eden. Right to that feeling of unconditional love like you've never known before. Underneath this Lover's card, we have the card True Offering. May I release the fears, illusions, and addictions that keep me from true offering. May I relax into your plan, trusting the next steps will always be shown. Use me, love. Use me for the highest. I am yours alone. There is something here about your ability to remain in a state of compassion and understanding and acceptance, both for yourself and for this person or the people in your life. This is where the magic comes from. This is how the universe uses you. Now, I'm not talking about being a martyr, but I am talking about sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. It creates this drama so that we all know where we are. So we all know we're on the same page, that we want the same things. But if you look at the situation and you think to yourself, well, if I made a mistake, the person that I really loved, I would hope they would have compassion and patience with me. And I think that that is your gift right now, is that you have the ability to remain in a state of compassion and acceptance for someone else. And that is rewarding in and of itself. That is the forward movement here. And here we have the Five of Swords, and underneath that we have play, have fun, celebrate, and don't be so serious. See, when we get into self-defense mode, when we're in a state of fight or flight, when we're waiting for the ball to drop, the slightest thing can get so blown out of proportion. We could jump to conclusions in our head. We can go into like this level of paranoia, and like this is so possible with this Pluto placement. Because the full moon in Cancer means we're going to want to protect what we have. And Pluto's going to say, well, you can't allow that thing that you have to have that kind of power over you. Meaning you can't be in a constant state of fear that you will lose it. And instead you have to resonate with knowing that what is truly yours and meant for you, you will never lose. Therefore, you have the comfort to give and accept and to operate from a place of compassion because we're not taking these things personally. I have a feeling that whatever's going on this week doesn't have a lot to do with you. Maybe this is your partner starting to realize where they are. Maybe this is your partner starting to realize how they're feeling. Maybe there's a little confusion, a couple bumps in the road, but I think all in all, as long as you don't take it too seriously, as long as you don't allow yourself to kind of spin into that paranoia role, this is just a passing thing. And actually probably something that's going to deepen the commitment and the love to each other in the long run. So really, I urge you to kind of look at situations, try not to overreact, right? And if you're feeling like moments of worry or dread or insecurity in some way, you may want to find like a good solid technique that gets you out of that. Like you start to worry about something and then you quickly play a happy song, right? You like change that energy immediately. We're not going to focus on that negative stuff. Like we're going to allow Pluto to empower us. We're going to be in our own authentic power, and we're not going to let anything or anybody drag us down into those old realms of insecurity and pain and unworthiness. And I think if you have the ability to just not take everything so seriously, an ability to kind of joke around, like the Five of Swords is no big deal. The Five of Pentacles, like these are minor arcana. These are just like annoyances. This is a universe just being like, okay, I know you're happy, but here's a little drama, right? And it's nothing you can't deal with. And if you could laugh your way through this, if you could forgive through this, it's going to show you that whatever this thing is that you're building, I feel very strongly that it's a relationship with someone else, that it can stand the test of time. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem so flimsy. This becomes real. This becomes really foundational, and it starts to move. And I always tell people when we pull the Chariot card, that's an indication from the universe that our vibration is attracting people at that same level. This is a forward movement in our lives when all of the gears kind of come together. And it is an indication that you are in control here. There might be hints or reminders this week that we can't control everything, but yet you are still in control. And to play. Take time to play. If you are somebody that listens to sad music a lot, make sure you're mixing in some happy stuff too. Make sure you're focusing on the happier thoughts. Indulge yourself. Like, look at this woman sitting in a glass of champagne. The universe wants you to know that you have every reason right now to celebrate. You are on the right path. You are with the right person. Relationships will never be 100% easy. It's some of the greatest work we'll do in our entire lifetime is forming lifetime bonds with others. And you have every right to be in this happy place. And whatever's going on, just kind of look at it like this emotional cleansing, like we're wiping the board clean for the new beginning, which is going to have a lot of power to change your life for the better. All right, pile number 3, I'm going to leave that there. It was a beautiful reading. I do hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you very soon. Take care.